This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Hi friends, good evening. In this Azure Databricks Master Program, this is our 16th session. In this session, we will see how to read multi-delimiter CSV files in a Spark 3. Because you can, like, multi-delimiters will not supporting Spark 2. That's why we are going to use Spark 3 to read the multi-delimiter. Suppose as per your requirement, maybe you are working on some enhancement project where you need to use Spark 2 version. In that Spark 2 version, you need to use a multiple delimiters. So how you can read a CSV file with multiple delimiters in Spark 2 and Spark 3, we are going to discuss one by one. In today's session, we are going to focus completely on how to read multi-delimiter CSV files by using Spark 3. Tomorrow we will see how to read multi-delimiter CSV files by using Spark 2. But today we will focus on Spark 3. This is the latest version. Now in this session we will see how we can read multi-delimiter CSV files into a data frame, how we can read a single file, how we can read a multiple files which you have in a directory. Next. So while you are reading these particular files, we are going to use some options. So one of the options is delimiter, which tells what is the delimiter between your data. Double delimiter means you will have two characters, maybe double pipe, double dollar, or $1, one pipe, something like that. There will be two characters. Next, InferSchema. So InferSchema means to identify the data type of columns. You are going to scan data or you are going to read the data once again. Okay, by default value for InferSchema is false. False means you are not going to identify the data type of columns by default. If you want to identify the column data types, you need to change, like you need to override the default value, meaning you need to set true to the InferSchema, meaning InferSchema true, you need to set. Next, so if you have headers in your file, you need to mention header equal to true. So that is your third option. If you are saying, if you are not mentioning anything, by default it will think that there is no headers in your file, and it will consider, if you have any headers in the file, it will consider those headers in your data, because you are not setting header equal to true. All these options we discussed previously, but I'm just discussing today as well. Next, while you are reading multi-delimiter CSV files, how you can specify user-defined schema or user-specified schema, you can say. So what is the advantage if you specify your own schema is you don't need to scan data, you don't need to read the data once again. So if you are like avoiding reading data once again, it will increase the performance. Okay, if you are unnecessarily trying to read a data, it's a huge data. You are going to deal with a complex or too large data sets. So if you are avoiding reading that complex or too large data set, you will get a better performance. To avoid that, we are going to use a user specified schema. We have already done this. So whatever we discussed, this is simple because we are going to use a Spark 3. But when you look at the Spark 2, you need to apply some kind of a transformations. Okay. So today we will completely go with Spark 3. So we already discussed about delimiter. Delimiter option is used to specify the column delimiter of the CSV file. So how your data is separated, that particular delimiter you need to put. By default, the delimiter is comma. Next, InferSchema, the default value set to this option is false. If you want to set it to true, if you set it to true, what happens? It will scan data once again to identify the column data types. Next, header equal to true. This option is used to read the first line of the CSV file as a column names. If you think you don't have headers in your file, you don't need to set it as a header equal to true. If you think you have headers in your file, then you need to set it as a true so that it will identify your first row as headers. Okay. Next, syntax for reading multi-delimiter CSV file. So this is how. If you have double pipe, you need to use here. So this is one syntax, this is another syntax, as we know. So you can use any of the syntax to read the files. Okay, now, so that's all with respect to slides. I will go and create Azure Databricks first. So how to create Azure Databricks? Go to portal.azure.com. So meanwhile, when Azure Databricks created, I will show you the data which I'm going to like do the lab. Okay, let's click on Azure Databricks. Let's click add to create Azure Databricks workspace. So free trial resource group I'm going to create. It's a Cloud Pandit Databricks master group. Okay, click OK. Come down here, you can give it as a Cloud Pandit ADB workspace. You can see Cloud Pandit ADB workspace, and I want to launch it in East US. So you can search for East US. So whatever region you want, you can select it. So here we have standard and premium. Premium means you will have a role-based access control. All these things we have seen. Let's go with standard. I don't have my virtual network. I want to launch it in a default network. Leave it blank. Like come to tags. If you have any tags, you can give key value pairs. Otherwise, leave them blank. Click review plus create. So it is validating all these details. Once all details is fine, you can create it. So it is deployed. Now let's click on this. What is that? Now let me go and show you the data which I'm going to work. So here you see $pipe. So there are multiple data sets I have. I will show you with all of these. So let's click on edit with Notepad++. See here I have a double delimiter. Here you see two characters, two pipes I have in my data. Okay. So two pipes, not a single pipe. Okay, that is one. Next, click on this multi-pipe to click any pipe. Okay, so here you have again double pipe. You can see double pipe, double pipe, double pipe. Example, in your data, somebody is using pipe, okay, for some reason. So now what happens is this is single pipe. So this single pipe also will come in your data as your delimiter is double pipe. Okay, so let me just mark it as one pipe. I will use in the save as name, and I will save this file. Okay, so these two files I'm going to upload: multipipe 1.csv, multipipe 2.csv. Okay, any questions as of now? Devashish, Manohar, Netra, Abhishek, any questions as of now? Abhishek is clear, Netra is clear. Rest of the people, please respond. Manohar. Okay, so now let's go to your Azure portal. So it is still deploying, but it will complete in a next 30 seconds or so. So not only double pipe, it can be anything. So I will show you with one more example. I have one more data set. Let me show you that. Let's click on $pipe. So in this $pipe, you see the data is not a double pipe, it's a dollar and pipe. The delimiter is dollar and pipe. Delimiter is dollar and pipe. So you can have a dollar and pipe, dollar and pipe. Okay, so everywhere. If you look at this data, you have a something called Russell. In this name, S is actually one S is dollar. So now this dollar also will appear in your data because your delimiter is not a dollar, your delimiter is dollar and a pipe. Okay, you have one more data set that is $pipe 2. Let's click edit with InferSchema. You see here also $pipe, $pipe, $pipe. Everywhere we have a $pipe, $pipe. Okay, now let's click on Chrome. You see your Azure Databricks is ready. Just click on go to resource. Let's launch this workspace. No, it is taking this much time. Can you hear me properly, friends? Whether issue with network or this particular website is taking more time. Okay, fine. Okay, then good. So let's create a cluster. As we know, create cluster. So you know name of the cluster we need to give. So we know high concurrency for parallel job, standard for serial job, single node for your practice purpose or for development environment you may go. So if you are small startup, you can use single node. And pool we are not using, and inactive time I will set it to the 60 minutes. So you know all these options which you discussed. Let's click on create cluster. So cluster is going to create. Now come to workspace. So one more thing you need to understand here. So we are using here, you see which version of Spark we are using, Spark 3.0. Okay, don't forget that. So if we use Spark 3.0, then only these particular things will work, whatever we planned, double delimiter. If you are using Spark 2 point something, here this double delimiter will not work. Okay, just click on workspace, click on this, create. I want to create a I want to create folder first. Let's create a folder. This folder name is Cloud Pandit. Let's click on this Cloud Pandit folder and create a notebook here. Notebook, you can say this is basically for multi delimiter CSV Spark 3. Okay. So multi-delimiter CSV file we are going to read by using Spark 3. This is the name of my notebook, and in which language we are trying to write the code? In Python. So on this cluster I want to execute my code. You can see cluster is here, just created. Notebook is ready. So if you remember, so whenever you create a Azure like new Azure Databricks workspace, you will not have any subfolders in our base folder. What is our base folder? We know what is our base folder. ls. I want to list down what is the content I have in my base folder. Base folder is file store / tables. Okay. So this is my base folder. I am just listing down all the content which I have in my base folder. So you will come to know that there is no content in that directory, in that tables. So now I am going to create a 4 subdirectories. Okay, 4 like directories I will create under table. So one is, you can say, pipe, double pipe 1. So this is my first directory. Next you can say double pipe 2 is my second folder. Next I can say dollar pipe is going to be dollar pipe 1 is going to be my next folder, and in this I can say dollar pipe 2. So now you know this dollar like double pipe 1 means, so I will upload a single double piped CSV file. What it means? So this particular file I will upload. So see, this is the single file I will upload into our first folder, that is double pipe 1. So double pipe 2, double pipe means, you see double pipe, we have double pipe 2 folder. I will upload both the files, multi pipe 1, multi pipe 2. Okay, these two files I will upload into my double pipe 2. In the same way, dollar pipe 1. So in dollar pipe 1, I have dollar pipe 1, you see. So this is my first dollar pipe, dollar and pipe, dollar and pipe, dollar and pipe. So this is dollar pipe 1 file, right? So this is single file I will upload into this folder. And next, this dollar pipe 1 and dollar pipe 2, these two files I will upload into this particular folder. I hope everybody is clear on these things. Now you can attach this notebook to this cluster, confirm it. So if you look at the cluster is still creating. Let's wait for some 30 seconds. So your cluster will up. So then, you know, once you uploaded data into here, all these are what? All these are your CSV files. How to read CSV file in your Spark? Spark.read.csv. Okay, so here you need to put a path. That path I will assign to a variable path equal to, this is the path. But today I don't want to hard code my path. I want to pass path through the widgets. So now because you need to practice those things daily. If I write it, you can able to remember. So I want to use widgets. How to use widgets? Okay, that I will explain you. Before that, we will see. Let's look at the content which we have under base folder. Okay, attaching to cluster, waiting to run, running command. So it is going to say table does not exist. If we wait for 10 more seconds or so, it will work. Let's keep on executing. At some time it will give you correct results. That path will be available, you know, right? That path will be available. So let's check the path once. Click data, add data, DBFS. See file store, tables available. Let's come back and let's execute now. See, now it is saying there is no content in it. Now I am going to create these 4 folders. Oh shit, what is it? File now. Oh, what we need to use here? mkdirs. Nobody told. Okay, we are not listing down this content. We are going to create this folder. So you have to say mkdirs. So now let's execute these 4 commands. So true. Now list down the content which we have under base folder. You see 4 folders available. Now let's click on data, add data. So I want to upload data into my first folder, that is $pipe. So you remember it's a $pipe, friends. $pipe1. Browse it, select your $pipe. So single file I will upload into my first folder. Okay, now just click on somewhere else and go back. Select now $pipe2. Okay, now browse it. Now I want to upload these 2 files. Upload into it. Okay. Now it is uploading still. Okay, upload. Click on DBFS, go back again because you cannot refresh here itself. That's why I'm just clicking here or here or here. Somewhere you can click. Now just select again in which folder I want to upload next files. I want to upload my next files in. So $pipe1. In this $pipe1, I will upload my $pipe multi-pipe. So multi-pipe1 file I will upload. DBFS, go back to upload. Select now our second $pipe2 folder. Here I will browse it. I will say I will upload 2 files. Okay, now go to recents. Here you see. So we know these are the 4 folders we have. Okay. Now I want to list down one by one. What is the content we have in all these folders? So how you can list down content, friends? So very simple, right? The simplest way is you just take first one. So instead of saying mkdirs, you just say list down. You want to list down the content. So you can see multipipe1.csv is there. Now in the same way, I want to list down the content which we have on the second command. We want to list down. Under this directory, what content we have, you see there will be 2 files. Okay, next. Take this entire thing over. You say ls. We'll get $pipe1. See $pipe1.csv. Now let me go to here. Our final folder. This is. In this, we should be able to see there will be 2 files in it. Now you see $pipe1, $pipe2.csv. There are 2 files in it. Now these folders I know. So first let's focus on this one. $pipe1. In this I have single file. I want to read this particular file. Okay, this is my path. This path I want to pass it through the widgets. How to pass it through the widgets? Anybody remember? dbutils.widgets. So you have to say text. Okay, this text is, you can say like first we are going to focus on pipe, right? So $pipe1. Okay, so what is your default value? I don't want to put any default value, give empty. Now you execute this, you see there will be widget here. So to this widget, I want to pass my this path. This is my first path, right? This path I will pass it to this widget. It will be difficult for me to move here and then Manohar if I increase. Okay, so you see multipython.csv. So in this, now what I wanted to do, I want to read this, the data which we have assigned to this particular widget. So how to get the value? So we discussed there are two functions. One is get argument, another one is get. Delimiters dot widgets dot get. Okay. So this get is, you need to say to which widget value you want to get. I want to get the widget value, that is 551 widget value. So that value is going to be a path. It will give you path. Okay, let's print that path. See, this is the path I will see. What I am going to do is that path directly I will use when I am creating a data frame. How to create data frame? df equal to spark dot read dot csv. Okay, path I need to provide. Now let's say df dot show. So without like using delimiter header equal to true, you will get data something like this. So now what you need to do, take this. Now let's try to use header equal to true. Now you see how data will look like now. When you say header equal to true, this first row it will set it as a header. You see, first row came into your header position. Now all this data I want to split it based on this double delimiter. So now I have to say separator is double delimiter. Let's see now. Need to say here separator equal to 5. Execute it. See, data is exactly whatever you are expecting. Okay, but what is the data type? If you see the data types, everything is a string. So now what you need to do? So you need to use one of the options you can use InferSchema equal to true. You need to put here InferSchema equal to true and execute it. So now you see the data types, it's integer, string, integer, integer. So this is this, if you use this particular option, it is going to read data once again. So this will cause some performance issue. That's why we will go with the user defined schema. So how to go with user defined schema? Come down. So instead of saying like InferSchema equal to true, you are going to say schema equal to, I'm going to pass that schema dynamically here. How to create the schema, user defined schema, how to create it? So you just put your column name here, player reading. Okay, next you need to say what is the data type of this. The data type of this is integer type. I know, integer type. Next, so do you want yellow null values or not? If you want yellow null values, you have to say true. Okay, I'm just adding one more here. Next, so next one is basically a player name. So player name I can put it here. This is not integer type, it's basically a string type. String type, this is also true, means I want to allow the duplicate value, like null values in this particular player name. So if he is not providing his name, that is okay for me. That is the meaning of true. Next, I want to say player highest score. So player player highest score, we know it's integer type. Next, so final one is number of matches. Number of matches, we can put it here. So this is basically what? This is also integer type. And I want to allow the null values. That's why it's true. True means you are allowing the null values. So all these are the fields. All these are the header names. So you have to put all these things in a struct field function. Struct field. Okay, struct field. Now all these values you need to put it in a list. Okay. So list means starting and ending. You can put a something called square bracket. Okay. So this is going to be a list, and final after final header name, you no need to put the comma. So that's all. Okay, now it is available in the list. This entire list you need to pass it to another function called struct type. Struct type. Struct type. So I need to pass. What you need to do, just to take this entire list and put cursor in the middle of this and paste it. Okay, so this entire content I pass to the struct type. So this will give you your final schema. So this is struct type, struct field, integer type, string type, all these things you are using. These things by default will not be available. You need to import it from the PySpark SQL types. So import. So as I said, don't use star. It will have a, again, unnecessarily it is going to import all the types. But I want to import only struct field. You can say struct field I want, and struct type I want. Okay, next integer type I want, string type I want. That's all. These four things I want. So this schema I have assigned a variable s. That variable s I need to give you a schema equal to s. This should be a small s because here you are using a small s. Now you just say df.show. So if you look at the data type of all these columns, integer, string, integer, integer. Okay, clear friends. So here what we have done, let me just explain from the beginning quickly. So we just verified, do we have any content in tables? We don't have any content. Then we created these four folders. After we created these four directories, we just verified whether these four directories are available or not. So when we look at this base folder, we are able to see all the directories which we have created. In all these directories, we have loaded some respective data. Now I'm just verifying what content we have in this, what content we have in this folder, what content we have in this folder. You know, in double pipe one we have single file, double pipe two we have two files, the dollar pipe one we have a single file, dollar pipe two we have a two files. So now I have taken here this particular path. Which path I have taken? I have taken this particular path, double pipe one path. In this path we have a multi-pipe one.csv. This path I have taken, and I have passed that path through the widgets. How to create widgets? This is how we are creating widgets, and this is how we are reading the data. Once you read the data, you are assigned to a variable called path. So this path will have a actual path. So meaning this particular path will be available in this variable. By using this variable, I read the CSV file. When I read this particular file, you see all double delimiters are available. That's why you are not specifying the default delimiter is comma, but with that comma separated, there is no data. That's why entire data it is considering as a single column. Next, so later I just mentioned header equal to true, meaning your first row will set it as a header. Okay, you can see header. Now all your remaining things will be there in at the data position. And next I'm saying there is a separate like there is a delimiter that is double pipe. When I say delimiter is double pipe, you see data is now very good shape, right? Now we are able to see the data in a proper shape now. So when I look at the data type of all these columns, the data type is string. So I am saying InferSchema equal to true, then it is going to read data once again to identify the column type. So first column type is integer, string, integer, integer. It identified because you are using InferSchema. So unnecessarily you are reading data. So to avoid these and to get a better performance, we are going with the user defined schema. This is how you need to define user defined schema. This schema we need to use here while reading the CSV file. This is how you will get a better performance if you go with user specified schema. Okay, clear? Now we will see multiple files we have. See, if you look at this particular thing, right? So we have multi-pipe one.csv, multi-pipe two.csv. So I don't want to give these file names one by one. Instead of that, if I give this particular folder name, you see this is the path same for both files. Till here, the path is same for both the files. So this path I will pass it through the widgets. So how to create widget? I need a one more widget. That is, you can say dbutils.widgets.text. You can see here double pipe 2. I want to pass a default value that is empty, nothing. I'm not passing anything. Now you see another widget is open. To this widget, I'm passing my another path, that is this path. So I want to read this path by using this widget. How you will do that? So dbutils dot widgets dot get. So we already used get, so I will use a get argument function. So get argument is going to decommission soon. That's why we are not using. But what is the widget name? Widget name is this. Whatever value set to this widget, that particular value I need to take it into a path1 variable. I want to print this path1 variable. You see, this is the path. By using this, I want to read the data. Path.read.csv path1. So this is going to be df, and you can say df.show. Execute it now and see. So data, see, this is first file data. This is our second file data. Now headers also in the data, because you are not saying there is headers in your file. So how to say there are headers in your file explicitly? You need to say here header equal to true. Now you see. See now headers setted. So from both the files, headers is gone now. Headers is available here from both the files. Now data is not in a proper shape. Now you need to use this delimiter value to separate this particular fields, to separate these particular values. Here you have to say separator equal to double pipe and execute. Now you see data is separated. Now, so as we discussed just now, you can see the data types is everything is string because you are not inferring the schema. So let's try to infer the schema for both. Okay, just execute it. See here, what is the data type? The data type is the integer, string, integer, integer. But you need to observe one more thing here. In the savag, you see the pipe is coming because the delimiter is double pipe, not a single pipe. That's why wherever you have single pipe, that single pipe value will be available in your data. Okay, clear? So I want to use my user defined schema for multiple files. So what you need to do? So as we know, the number of columns is same for for both the files. So I will use the same schema which we have defined here. So this schema is exactly fit for both the files. So I will just put that particular schema here. This schema I will use here. Schema equal to, I am going to say yes here. Now let's try to execute it now and see. See now the data type is integer, string, integer, integer. So this is how you can able to see double piped like a double piped files. You can able to read it. Okay, not only double pipe. So we have something else. There is another combination. So is it possible to do it in Spark 3 or not? Okay, it is possible, friends. So double delimiter. Okay, you can use it in Spark 3, but you cannot use it in Spark 2. But still, you are going to handle double delimiters in Spark 2. How to handle those things? I am going to explain you in tomorrow's session. But anybody have any questions as of now? Devashish clear? Manohar clear? Devendra, Abhishek, Netra. Okay, thank you. So now let me show you something like this. There is a two more files we have, right? Like $pipe1 and $pipe2. So let's focus on $pipe1 first. Because actually you can able to try these things. It will work for you also, right? So, but let me show you. This is the path, right? So I will set it as a default because we are already familiar with using the widgets now. So I don't want to use widgets again. Let me hard code this path. So in this path, I know there is one file. How to get the file which is there in this particular directory? dbutils.fs.ls and execute it. Now what happened? DB utils. Now you see there is a file. Okay, this is the my next part. So this file I want. So what is the file name? Part2. So part2, let me hardcode here. Next I want to read this data. Read.csv, and you can see part2 and passing here. This is df.show. And execute it. Now you see entire data is available in a single column because I'm not using the delimiter or even headers also in your data. Now you need to say header equal to true. Execute it. See, header equal to true when you say your first row went to your header position. Now next thing is I know there is a double delimiter that I wanted to show you. So the double delimiter, you can say here separator equal to dollar and pipe. You see dollar and pipe. When you use dollar and pipe, you see data is proper. Now if you see the delimiter is dollar and pipe. Okay, in this Russell name, if you see the dollar is coming, because the delimiter is not a dollar, it's a dollar and a pipe. That's why dollar is in the data. But the data type of each column, if you look at, you can see all these are the string types. You need to you need to say InferSchema equal to true, or you need to say you need to define your own schema. Okay, let's say for now InferSchema equal to true and execute it. See, data is proper. And if you look at the data types, integer, string, integer. So now I want to define my own schema. How to define my own schema? How to define my own schema, friends? So we know we don't need to use schema equal to this. You can simply say yes, because we already setted this particular schema to s variable, right? That s variable available throughout all the things. So you don't need to say, you don't need to define again, and you don't need to declare that s here. So that will be available here. Now if you see the data types, you can see integer, string, integer, integer. This is clear, friends? This is clear, or any questions here, please? Abhishek is clear, Netra clear, Devendra, Manohar, Abhashish. Okay, thank you. So because why I'm using s directly here, because we already defined the schema. That schema we assigned a variable called s. That s will be available across all the notebook cells. Okay, so that's why I'm not bringing that to this particular cell now. So I want to go with the multiple dollar pipe one. Okay, so what it means, you can see in this particular file, you will see there will be two files in it. This should be a $pipe2 and execute. So there will be two files, $pipe1.csv, $pipe2.csv. The path for both the files is same up to here. So whatever path is same for both the files, that particular path you need to bring it, and you can assign to another variable called path3. So here I'm going to read data spark.read.csv. You just have to say here path3. Now df.show and execute it. See all these, like first column, like first file data, this second file data. Now if I say header equal to true, so two lines will vanish. One is this, second one is this. Let's see that now. Click here. Now you can say here header equal to true, and you can execute it. See, header setted only data you have in your data position. Now let's say separator. Let's try to use the separator. What is the separator here? The separator here is, you can say dollar and pipe. Next, okay, when I say separator, you are able to see the data proper, and you can see here s this dollar. Next, let's copy this. The data type for all these columns is string because you are not inferring the schema. I want infer schema. You can say here infer schema equal to true. Excellent. In this, you can see player ID is 110, 111. So all these things we have. If you look at the data type of all these columns, integer, string, integer, integer. So it is identifying the data types now correctly. You are using InferSchema, but this is having some performance issue. That's why let me go to the next one. What is the next one here? Schema equal to, yes, you can use directly because S variable. Okay, before I use here, let me just print what is S here. So you can print it and check if you have any doubts. See, this is the like structure, the schema which are there. Now that S I am using here to infer to refer my schema explicitly. Use a different schema to probably use a different schema. Now you see integer, string, integer, integer. Okay, clear. Now I wanted to show you one more thing. Example, let's say I have there are two files, right? Okay, so do one thing. Let's create a one more folder here. DVFS till base path you can take, and here you can say slash dollar 53. Okay, so I'm just creating a one more folder called dollar 53. Okay, remember now dollar pipe. Remember dollar pipe. It's a dollar pipe, meaning dollar pipe 2 I have, dollar pipe 1 I have. Now I will go to dollar pipe 2. Here I can say one more thing. One more column I will have. Okay, that is dollar pipe. Here you can say location of the match or something. Okay, that location I'm going to say something like this. Let me give same name maybe. Okay, so no issue if you use same name for all these people. Ultimately you are going to understand something. Now you see one second. Okay, dollar pipe 1 is having a 4 columns, dollar pipe 2 is having a 5 columns. Now what is going to happen? This particular scenario we will analyze. So for that I have created a one more folder called dollar pipe 3. Let's click add data, select dollar pipe 3. Do you know, friends, what is going to happen in this case? Anybody is aware of this dollar pipe? So let me upload these two files now. Click open. Okay, two files is totally different data. Let me go down. Okay, very good, null value, but I want to get the value. So what is null? See, now you need to understand here, spark dot read dot CSV. So I'm just showing. So before that, let me just apply all the header equal to true, all those options here. So you know these things, so I don't need to explain again. And the separator is we know dollar and the let's execute it. So what is happening here? Null, null, null. So null, 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 null value. Okay, clear? We're going to get a null, 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 null values. Okay. Here I want to add one more thing. InferSchema equal to true. Or true. Let's get it. Now you see when you say InferSchema equal to true, what is happening, friends? So nothing, same data it is showing, but data types of this should change. But why it is not changed? Why it is not changed, friends? Can you guess it now? Why it is not changed the data type of these columns? InferSchema equal to true we have used properly. Okay. What is the problem? Looks like everything is fine, but still we see some issue. Let's read it once again. Okay, so now there is
You
an
need to pass
issue.
schema equal test, right?
What is
Schema
schema?
equal test, right? So to change this.
So InferSchema is going to read data to identify column types automatically, right? But it is not going to do that. Okay. So in this case, you are going to use a schema equal to yes. Now you see what will happen if you use schema equal to yes. What is happening? What is happening, friends? 10, 20, 30, 40, but there is a fourth, like fifth column that is missing, location column. Okay, so this yes, which you have defined 4 columns, so remove that and go to the schema where you have defined. Okay, at this position you define schema. Bring this schema down. I will tell you what you need to do. I hope you understood the problem, right? So when I use InferSchema calculator, it is not working, so it will not work. Even I tried to execute one more time to show you, it is not going to work, so it's not working. So now when I say this yes, so yes, these 4 columns, whatever you defined explicitly, those 4 columns, it is ready. Now if I want to read 5th column in this, just copy one structure field. You can just copy one structure field and paste it here, because I need to add that extra column also here. Now you will get it. Okay, location, it's a string type, so I am saying it's a string type, and it's good enough. So now you see location also came, Bangalore, 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 and the data type is string. So meaning when you have something like this, when your schema is changed, InferSchema will not work. So what is going to work? User defined schema will work when you have a less number of columns in your old files. See, in my old file, I have a 4 columns. In my new file, I'm getting 5 columns. Understood, friends? So if you want to see one more time, let me show you InferSchema calculator. It will not work. See, the data type is string, 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 string. It will not be able to identify in these kind of scenarios. Okay, clear? Any questions as of now? Anybody have any questions? Okay, if no questions, let me stop the recording.